Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another fantastic episode on the Unleashing Potentials podcast. My name is Bernadette Desir, and I'm your host. Joining me today is Cindy. How are you?
Hi, Bernadette. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. I cannot wait to dive into our talk today.
Yes, yes. So to start, Cindy, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yes, of course. So, hello, everybody. My name is Cindy. I am a psychic healer, and our mission here at Uncommon Healing is to help others tune into their spiritual gifts to bring their best magic forward, whether that's through unleashing their healing abilities or intuition, so they can take their client work deeper. So, this is for you if you are wanting to work with others and take them deeper, to be able to clear blocks, release emotional or energetic things that are blocking clients. So yeah, this is our mission. We help others step into their spiritual gifts to really connect with their own magic as well.
That's awesome. So, did you always want to do the work that you're doing now? Tell us more of your journey of how you develop your psychic gifts because those are hard to develop properly and learn.
Well, if you would have asked me if I had planned to do this, the answer is no. I always thought I was going to be like a lawyer living the downtown life somewhere in Los Angeles, but no, the universe had other plans for me. So I have been a psychic since I remember around 7 years old. So I experienced having my ability to hear, see, and sense things very deeply. So I grew up very sensitive.
Mhm.
My sister and I grew up talking about paranormal things and the things we experienced throughout the house. And so back then it was very hush hush. I grew up in a typical Hispanic home where we don't discuss healing, let alone energy work, and spirituality is based through the lens of religion of Christianity. And so my parents were very Christian based. And so spiritual conversations look like going to church on Sundays, praying, and we heard about spiritual terms, but we didn't really understand what they were. And so I spent most of my life feeling alone, feeling a little awkward and weird. I was sensitive to energy since I couldn't remember. So being around others made me nervous. I created a lot of social anxiety for myself. And I grew up with that and took that on throughout my teenage and adult years. And so I ended up being diagnosed with anxiety and depression for over a decade. And although taking long-term medication helped on a surface level calm my symptoms down, feeling very unmotivated, uninspired, feeling stressed out as a mother of two, and just taking on all the responsibilities of life, there was something that I felt was disconnected. I was disconnected from myself and I was seeking more. I spent about 12 years in the medical field, so I knew the physical connection to the body and how medicine works wonders, but there was a disconnect mentally and emotionally. And that's when I had almost an awakening of coming home to myself when I first experienced energy healing and that reconnection with my intuition.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I think so many kids and adults, have experienced what you've experienced. I know I have. And it's hard when we can't find people to lean on as kids, they think it's our imagination running wild or just forget about it when really we're experiencing what we're experiencing and it's real. What would you say to parents who have kids, even adults who are experiencing their gifts, unleashing? What would you say to them when it comes to having fears of allowing it to happen?
I love this question. I would say give yourself some space to process because sometimes what we realize is happening, we don't really recognize it until after, like a couple months after. And so you're thinking something's wrong with you, something's wrong with your child. But when it comes to children and sensitivity, I would say pay attention to their cues. Like you are the one who's connected to them the most as a parent, right? So sometimes most kids do need just a hug
Mhm.
so they can feel your support. Sometimes it's a little bit challenging to translate into words exactly what we're feeling, even at a younger age. So I would say, instead of having like a real serious sit down with your child and you sense or suspect that they have some sensibility or they have their abilities opening up, just listen to what they're communicating to you. Like I know sometimes my daughter will come in and she'll be like, Mom, I dreamt this and it felt very real. She has a gift of premonition. So sometimes that can really feel
Mhm.
intense. And so I always tell her, it's okay. Dreams are dreams. They don't mean they're true. But giving her time to hear her out and allow her to process and tell me her dream in her own words really helps. So I always encourage my clients who are highly sensitive and have their spiritual gifts either beginning to open or already open and have children who are very similar. I always say your best bet is just giving your child presence so they can be able to feel that support from you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Can you share with us what are some of the experiences that you and your sister experienced, as a child?
Oh my God. So my sister and I used to talk all the time about voices or conversations that were taking place without anybody physically being present. And what was strange is that at first it was happening to both of us and we wouldn't really share it with each other because we probably thought I'm just a crazy one hearing this until we started sharing our dreams and we would have the same dreams on specific days. So she would share something happening and I would be like, "Wait, I just dreamt that yesterday." And so we realized there was like a connection between both of us and what was going on and in the homes that we lived because there were energies there. And we come from a background like my mother is a healer in the Christianity community. And so my grandmother was also a healer in her community back in Central America. So we come from women in a lineage that have these gifts, right? But we're all like walking our walk and discovering them as we grow, as we develop. And so um, another thing we would sense is a lot of energy in the houses that we would live. Sometimes she would wake up and be like, I saw a woman in a white dress. And I'm like, my dad was like, yep, I saw that too. And so it wasn't something that we often talked about collectively, like at a family dinner table. It was more of like a hush hush way, just because we were so afraid of being called crazy and being seen almost like there was something wrong, right? Because we're taught there's just so much fear around stepping into this realm of spirituality. And I always say, you get to decide what spirituality looks and feels like to you. Nobody chooses that for you. And that's something that I also teach my daughters because we can believe in whoever we want, right? God is universal, God is energy. And so there's different scopes, of course, that we've learned to uh recognize around religion, but at the end of the day, our job is to really empower others and say, hey, if that doesn't align with you, that's okay. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. You can decide to take a step back or a step away and choose to believe what you want to believe.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for sharing. Earlier you shared about, anxiety and depression, which I have also, and medication, which I'm on. Um, yeah, to say the least, I feel pretty disconnected
Okay.
outside of my body. I think I don't know. I know there's side effects of medications, but I don't understand or know properly the chemistry of what it does spiritually to someone. Can you share with us your thoughts on that?
Yes, of course. So anxiety and depression will manifest for everybody individually in a different way. For me, it was more of a disconnect with myself. I longed for something more than waking up and doing my regular routine outside of being a mother, a wife, a full-time worker then.
Mhm.
And so it was like this void, this emptiness that I was carrying with me on the day to day. And it's almost like my intuition kept telling me there's something more, there's something more. And at that time, I was working my corporate job. And I remember I used to feel so overwhelmed and helpless in a sense where like I was so unhappy in the space that I was in at that time. And so medication helped until it didn't. So I'm not saying medication is bad, but the approach with medication is like, you go to the doctor, here's a prescription, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And then there's so many things and effects that come with medication. And so for me, the guilt and the shame that I carried as a mom for not being able to feel alive and connected to my children and feel happy really weighed heavy. And I couldn't really discuss that with anyone because I didn't know. I thought it was like a me problem. And so
Mhm.
I remember I wanted to take a more natural, holistic approach to combat my symptoms and seek support. I didn't no longer want to continue taking the medication that I was on because it really helped serve as a number. I was just wanting to lay down all the time. That was my life. And so I didn't think it was fair to my family. So I decided to take a more natural approach. And that's when I came to learn about Reiki. I was very skeptical. I was like, oh, no, 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 no. This sounds like it's a bunch of BS. Like, I know I cannot do this. But then it kept coming up in different ways. And
Mhm.
then I did all the research as a Capricorn sun, and I was like doing reading facts. There were proven facts on how Reiki and energy healing can help you really create that balance and connection on a mind and spirit and emotional, mental, physical level. And so I was like, I'm going to try it. And so, of course, I called my sister and I was like, I'm sitting outside of my Reiki appointment. If I don't come out, this is my location. Come find me.
Mhm.
And I have to share with you the moment I first, when I got on the table, my fear was very big. I was prepared to like die. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna experience all the bad stuff and I what am I gonna do, right? Because that was what I had that belief around Reiki. And my practitioner was so patient with me. She was like, just breathe. I'm just gonna work on your energy and that's it. And I'm like, okay. And so I remember I felt a warmth coming through from her hands and I was breathing. I was actually paying attention to the rhythm of my breath and my body. And breath work is not something that I had practiced growing up or heard of. And during that time, I remember I had an emotional release. So I did have a breakthrough. And I opened my eyes. I had tears rolling down my eyes. And I heard my intuition say, breathe. So when I heard that breathing sound, it was very calm. It wasn't no longer my loud inner critical voice that I had experienced for the majority of my life. And I laid there and I was like, how am I just now finding out about this? Like, there's no way I'm just now knowing how, about this work. And it's a holistic approach to well-being. So, like, yay, because, all these medications have such a huge toll on you physically, right? And my life changed since then. I felt the call to continue working with that practitioner for regular Reiki treatments, and I was able to wean off my medication long term. And I then felt called to take the training for it to be able to become a facilitator for others and share this work with them as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are three main ways that Reiki can help us, when it comes to planning and visioning things for our career and life?
Yes, I love that. So one thing that you can do is really start with a clear intention. Most oftentimes we think that we need things outside of ourselves to really make it powerful or have like a big impact. I
Mhm.
would say set a clear intention of what you want to do, whether it's self Reiki treatment or whether you're working with your practitioner. They can set a clear intention for you, but you can also set your own intention. Like something I always tell my clients is, always set an intention before we start. And then I set the intention as a space holder to be able to help you connect with the highest, most vibrational beings, whether that's your guides, your ancestors, your angels. And so having a clear intention to what you want to do this month, this year, for the new year will be imperative to helping you set that foundation of like, this is a connection to myself, to my spirituality on a mind, body, and soul level. And so this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
Something else I would say is you can naturally activate your chakras. So for visioning, I would say use your third eye. Like I see a lot of bluish purple around behind you.
Oh, you
And
do? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and even like your lipstick looks blue. So this is already you working with
Thank
vision
you.
with your
Thank
third
you.
eye, right? And that comes from creativity. So connect with your third eye, work with blue color therapy to help really unlock that creativity and allow it to soar through. Sometimes we think it needs to be very robotic, very boxy as like a checkoff list. So I would say invite in more flow of your own gifts, of your own natural genius, your creative power to come through so you can really feel that essence and see what's coming through to birth. Like sometimes a lot of creatives, entrepreneurs or women in business, they're often we need that creativity, right? To kind of fuel and give us that inspiration to create, whether it's offers or anything. And so
Mhm.
I would say connect with your third eye chakra by envisioning it opening and allowing it to birth the creativity that's trying to come through because you're always connected to the divine. Everybody's connected to the divine. It's just that we have blockages because whether they're beliefs, whether they're energetic, we're always, there's a stump in a sense
Mhm.
that keeps
Yeah.
us from being in complete flow.
Mhm.
Um, Another thing I would suggest is work on amplifying your own energy. So you can work with crystals, you can work with spiritual tools. That's really going to help enhance mental clarity. Mental clarity is huge to be able to step into your creativity so you can really tap into that inner power. So Reiki can actually help with that, whether, again, you're doing Reiki for yourself or whether you're working along with your practitioner. Reiki can help enhance that mental clarity, but can also clear the mental blocks that you're carrying and you're probably not even aware of. So
Mhm.
it helps move the energy around.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing. So many of us, we block ourselves not only from what you just shared, but just physical things as well. And I know many of us we need to see to believe. I used to be one of those people, but now I create, I exist and coexist with my creativity. Today I woke up, I wanted to wear blue lipsticks, and I wanted to. I've had my hair like this. I'm like, I like it. Right.
Yeah,
And way before I was awake, I would be like, don't put blue on. People are gonna stare, which they do. When they do, it's more out of curiosity, right?
right.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that you talk about spiritual tools because I use those as well.
Mm.
For crystals, I have books on them, but I want to hear your thoughts. If someone doesn't know what they are, how to work with them, how can they work with them and cleanse them?
So for crystals, if you're at the beginner's level, I would say start with your more self-cleansing crystals, which is like selenite and clear quartz.
Mm,
Those crystals in itself are very self-cleansing. So you can place a piece of selenite in your living room where you spend most of your time with your family, and that crystal will automatically just cleanse the space. Also, clear quartz is very powerful. It can cleanse other crystals and so can selenite. So if you're somebody who carries bracelets, if you have other crystals in the home, it's important to cleanse them periodically just to move the energy around.
mhm.
You want to place them outside. You want to take a piece of incense stick and move the energy around. But these two particular ones are very self-cleansing on their own. Now, if you are looking for more tools for crystals for protection or to bring in some grounded energy into your home, like you said, if you're experiencing anxiety or any emotional turmoil or changes, I would recommend using black tourmaline. That's one of my favorite ones. I always have that in my home because
Mhm.
not only does it serve as a cleansing, it serves as a protective stone as well.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I have a necklace of it I normally wear. I just realized I'm not wearing it. But I have a big piece of it and I love it. And I do try to cleanse them as much as I can, but sometimes life gets
Oh
busy.
yeah.
I'm like, I forgot.
It happens
Yeah.
all the time. And if you're like washing dishes and you see your stones on the shelf and you're like, oh my God, it's been 3 weeks, just send them some intention. Be like, I cleanse you from here, from the kitchen. Remove any energy that's not high vibrational, and I want you out of my house. Like something as simple as that can go a really long way.
Yeah, yeah. So you are a psychic healer. I've heard of different types of healers. And what is the difference, in your opinion, between a psychic and a medium? How do you guys connect and see the spirit world?
So for me, I think there's always a blend of both. Mediums have a connection to be able to connect with past loved ones or those that have transcended to the spirit realm. Psychics are able to read your energy and receive information that you may be carrying in your 5D world and bring it through the 3D. I honestly believe they're both the same. We just have different
Yeah.
terms for them. I am a psychic, but I can also connect with past loved ones when they're wanting to share something that's important to deliver to my clients. So I don't per se call myself a psychic medium, but I've called myself different things, a channeler, because I am almost like a straw between the spiritual and the physical world. So
Mhm.
many different words for different things, but it's honestly somebody who has the ability to read energy and be able to bring through messages from those higher beings of light that are wanting to connect with you and serve as a guide to be able to deliver that information.
That's so cool. I think I'm both, but untrained. Because
Oh,
I've connected with past loved ones. You know, I tell them to, because I have mental health issues, right? It's not a good recipe with spiritual stuff at times. I tell them, do not give me a heart attack. Do not frighten me. This is how
right.
you can communicate with me. So they come to me through dreams when I'm
Hmm.
sleeping. I've seen lots of loved ones and they hug me in their dreams.
Oh
It
my God.
feels so real and not real at the same time. I don't know how to describe it.
Oh, that feels like a warm hug almost,
My
right? Like,
dad did give me a hug. My birth
oh,
father, he passed in 2020. Lots of pain there and unresolved issues. And he did give me a hug and showed me who he was with and where he was. So that was cool.
that's powerful. And I love that. There are those people that can go and take a training to become professional psychics. And there are those people that are naturally gifted. You can be both. And so I want to share that out loud because sometimes we think, oh, but I'm not certified. I would say if you're walking the path of being a guide for others, you definitely want to get certified with somebody who has integrity and has values, right? To be able to help you grow. But if you are naturally gifted like yourself and you want to bring through information, you can develop that and you would just have to learn to use your tools. And I always say, a lot of my clients are very gifted. They already have psychic abilities when they come to learn Reiki with us. So I always say, your intuition is going to guide you. I can tell you this means this, but if that's not what your guides are telling you, it doesn't make
Mhm.
it wrong. Right. So as a spiritual teacher, you're there to empower others and say your gifts are going to talk to you in a whole different way. That's why we want to create that dictionary so you can start recognizing those patterns and be able to discern high vibrational energy versus low vibrational energy as well.
Yeah, yeah. And they mess up with my lights quite a bit. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know what happened last week or the week before. You know when there's a lightning storm and it flashes
Yeah.
across the sky? That's what happened to my kitchen lights. I literally jumped and then it happened again. I turned it off, it happened again. I'm like, stop it. So I don't know who that was, what that was. I know it wasn't just the power doing its thing. So that's kind of how they connect. But I don't understand them. It's a very hard language. It's too subtle. Unless they scream at me. I did hear what felt like it could have been an archangel, and it was a male voice. It says, "Did you call me?" I heard
Oh,
it in my head.
okay.
Yeah, and I said, "It depends on who you are," and I just laugh.
Right. No,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
At
I
the
don't know.
beginning, yeah, at the beginning of your psychic journey, it can feel like it's subtle. So it's kind of hard to discern, like, did I really just hear that or did I make it up? Right. And so, but as you develop those abilities more, they get stronger and more clear. So now it's almost like a switch that you can turn off and be like, oh, this, like when I'm at home, I'm not channeling automatically. It's only when I'm doing my work that they go on and then they go off. Like I'm human. I want to live my life.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
So
Yeah. So since you've been talking to me, I feel presence around me all the time behind me. I don't know. I think I might know who, but did anyone have anyone knocked at your door and be like, "Hey, this is who I am to her." Do you feel anything as you talk to me?
oh, okay. So no, right now I'm like we're focused on the conversation, but I always give a lot of room for channeled guidance to come through when I'm having a talk if you're open to it, of course. But if if you are open, then I can ask internally and see if
Sure,
anything comes through for you as we are having this conversation.
sure.
Yeah, that's another thing. I think it's important to always have spiritual boundaries and energetic boundaries. That way, you're not interrupting your own focus and your own flow as well. Because sometimes spirits don't know how to have boundaries and they automatically want to come in and
Yeah.
just be like, I'm here. And it's like, hold on, like, let me take care of myself. So for you, I think, okay, see, something's already coming through. So. We're doing this live if you're tuning in.
Oh, yes, yes.
There's an emphasis on the blue around you, and I think blue signifies something special for you. I don't know that, you know that. But
Mm,
what's automatically coming through is a grandmother presence, and she's coming through to the right. So I'm not sure if that's on your father's end. I'm gonna ask if she's passed or is she still present with us?
mm.
Has your grandmother passed?
Um,
Or is she
yeah,
still?
I think she's passed. I have a feeling I might know who you're talking about. Her name is Mona. It could be
Okay.
Mona. I don't know. I don't.
Okay, she hasn't revealed her name to me, but she's a little bit short. And her spirit is pretty bold. Her presence is felt automatically. Like she's like, I'm here,
Yeah.
but I almost see like a choir behind her. Okay. Do you have any connection or relation to singing or using your voice?
I love singing. I love it. I do it for fun. I love it.
Okay. Okay, see? This is how it happens. Here we go. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I'm seeing the choir and she's emphasizing on the choir of like use your voice to bring through healing, use your voice to inspire. That's what I'm hearing over and over as she speaks through. And she's saying that you have a gift in your throat, but sometimes you can block yourself or hold yourself back because there might be like some insecurities or self-doubt around your voice, but she's like, practice in the shower. Like in the shower, you're able to really connect with your higher self and bring her through to help you feel like
Yeah.
empowered and confident in what you're singing. And she's also sharing to be aware of the choice of words you use for your
Oh,
to talk
oh,
to
for
yourself.
myself.
Yeah, to talk to yourself or to that you're singing out loud. So I don't know if you have a specific liking to music, but she's like, tell her to use more words of empowerment, of speaking truth and speaking abundance into your life.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. That's so cool. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. I wish I could reverse and do one for you, but I don't know how.
Oh my God. And you're already doing beautiful, amazing things by creating a platform for people to share their gifts and their work that matters so much in the world. So thank you for being such a gift to us as well.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, how can people avoid burnout and stress, which are
Oh,
at times impossible too, but it's doable.
yes.
Yeah.
So chances are you probably have bumped into burnout and
Oh,
stress.
we're buddies. We're buddies. Some days we get along, sometimes we don't.
It happens. It's inevitable sometimes, like you say, especially when you are the one who holds so many things together. So this might sound contradicting, but I'm going to say it anyways because this is what works for me and so many of my clients. Um, but I'm going to say the number one thing you want to create is time for yourself.
Mm.
Now, if you're like, I have all the things to do, I don't have time to take an hour for myself or 30 minutes, I'm going to say, yes, you do. I'm going to challenge you and say, yeah, I'm sure you
Yeah.
do. You get to decide what that looks like for you. For me, it's waking up at 5 a.m. before my house wakes up and tells me that they want pancakes and strawberries, or going on a daily walk with my dog because I love to breathe nature because it helps me relax and gives me a quick energetic reset. So what would that look like for you if you're somebody who's experiencing and you're listening and you're like, I'm so stressed, I'm so anxious, I'm looking forward to the weekend? That's already your mind and your body going off saying, Why do we have to look forward to the weekend? Why can't we create a break in between the week where you're like, I'm going to take 20, 30 minutes to sit in my yard and soak in the sun before I have to be available to anybody else?
Yeah, yeah,
Balance doesn't come easy. We have to create it. We are women who are constantly being pulled in different directions. So I want to empower you and say, how can you take time for you to create balance and create a practice that's going to feel so natural that it's going to create so much joy so that you can pour to others from a place of overflow,
mhm,
especially if you have a family, right? Because sometimes we do so much that we end up feeling resentful and angry and exhausted, and our kids feel that. Our
yeah.
kids feel that. So I
Hmm.
that's going to be one important tool to
What are the
avoid stress.
others?
To avoid stress and burnout, but create more mindful practices. If you're somebody who works at a corporate job, how can you incorporate taking more 10 5-minute breaks to breathe? If you're going to the bathroom, how can you sit there for a little bit longer and take a deep breath in to reset your energy and your mental space? If you're an entrepreneur or a woman in business, how can you take time to nurture your creativity before you dive into your client work, before you hop on and create content?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Wow.
those are ways that you can pour
Yeah,
back into yourself.
yeah, beautifully said. Women have, it feels like I have five brain. It's just constantly busy. And if your mom, kids will do that to you, and you can do it. That's all I can say. We were made to do it. And it's just finding the
Absolutely.
time, like you said. And I find that some moms, after they have kids, they let themselves go. I did that in the beginning and going through postpartum, but no more. Because I breathe and live self-care and creativity. If I
Mm,
don't paint, like I paint, I have my art stuff always set up. If I have 5 minutes, I do something, and then I go back to it the next day and do something. It's just to find something to feed the soul with, or more than one thing.
I agree. It's true, right? If we're not feeding our spirit, our soul, then we're not living. And so we can get caught up in doing all the things for others and not having enough to give back to ourselves. And not only that, we don't, at least I know I don't come from a background where women were prioritized. My mother was always overdoing, overproducing. And so it becomes a trauma pattern where it's like we're constantly trying to catch up with our energy until we interrupt it. And by that means saying no more and saying, I need time for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And some people are very terrified of setting boundaries and saying no. I always tell people yes and no, they're both answers. And they're very short too, but they mean so much for the people we're saying it to and to ourselves. It's just to find the courage. Just say it, just do it.
The
Just,
courage. Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What would you say to us women who are so hard on ourselves? Because we most of the time look at the flaws versus the beauty, right? Yeah.
Wow. I would say at the end of the day, when you're resting in your bed and all the things are coming up that you did wrong or you could have done better, or that you're like, I missed this deadline, I was mean to my kids today, let them come through. Let them come up to your awareness because that's exactly what they're trying to do. Your inner critic wants to be loud about these things. And after you give them like an awareness or space to process, I want you to say, but I did the best I could today. Even
Mm,
if that means leaving the dishes in the sink for the next day, even if that means you didn't get a chance to sit at the dinner table with your kids. You did the best you could, and that's all that matters. And that immediately creates compassion and understanding for yourself.
yeah, yeah. For me, I find peace in the chaos. It never used to be that way, right? I'm like, the house is not on fire. The kids are safe. They're fed. They have water. They have clean clothes on. Yes, there's toys all over the place. Yes, the kitchen looks like a tornado went through it. But I'm tired. So I'm pausing, I'm taking a break. And for some people, that's hard. It's very,
It
very
is.
hard. Yeah.
Especially when you didn't grow up seeing it modeled to you or nobody tells you it's okay to take a break. So take a break. If you're listening, take a break.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah. So how can we build and cultivate resilience?
Oh my gosh. I would say again, this isn't like a one path is the same for everybody, right? This is going to look different. There are some people who are internally more resilient than others, and that's okay. It doesn't make you bad if you haven't cultivated resilience through challenges, but that's exactly how we do it, right? Because sometimes we think when we're smack in the middle of the chaos of our life falling apart, that we're disempowered, that we feel like, oh my God, everything's going to crap. And what's going on? Why we almost become like a victim of life of like, what am I doing wrong? Why is this happening to me? So a way that you're going to create resilience is start with that inner self-awareness. Start with asking yourself questions of how you're feeling in the situation that you're navigating or what you're experiencing. Like the word grief is coming up a lot. So if you're somebody who's moving through grief right now and you're like, whether it's grief for yourself or who you used to be, or you're experiencing a loss of somebody close to you, I want you to get curious about how this emotion is making you feel and what's the impact that it's causing in your life.
Mhm.
Yes, we're not used to feeling uncomfortable. We want to fix things quickly and we want to move through them quickly. So I want to invite you to take a moment to sit in that grief for a moment and see what it creates within you. Maybe it's an emotional release. Maybe you need to cry and give yourself some space to process what you're feeling. Maybe you want to talk to a friend about it. So, more than anything, really allowing yourself to start that connection with your inner self by getting curious about your inner dialogue. There's people that have their inner critic that's really loud and are not aware that they can learn how to really calm that down, how to tune down the noise on the inner critic to be able to connect with your intuition.
Yeah.
Challenges are here to help us grow spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. They're here to help us step into evolution and really create a more empowered version of ourselves. So you're gonna, especially if you're going through like an awakening or a dark night of the soul, you're gonna feel like you're in it every day for months and months and months. And so I want you to channel your empowerment and say, yes, my external world, it's showing me that everything's shifting and falling apart, but that's because I'm going through some growing pains right now, and it's okay. It's not going to last forever. And eventually you're going to step into a more resilient version of yourself. And I think there's beauty in that. There's beauty in pain. And sometimes we avoid it because we don't like it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing. Oh, I experienced the dark night of the soul, and I'm still going through it. I think I'm on my way to finishing, but
Same. Me
when
too. Me
yeah,
too.
oh my goodness. When it first started, I couldn't look at meat. I couldn't eat it. There's certain food I just didn't want to eat. It's not that I don't like them. I just can't because I felt compassion and empathy for the animal that
Mhm.
is butchered.
Mhm.
Yeah, it feels that every single day I'm a new person.
Oh, yes.
I don't even know how to describe it. So I wore blue today. The other day I wore a purple, and I don't know. I'm just going with the flow and dabbling into creativity and energy. It's a powerful, painful thing to go through. And
The
the
way you
first
just said
night was
that
so
made
bad.
the way you just said that made all the sense. That's exactly it. We're shifting at rapid speed that we don't have enough time to ground in and plant our feet in the soil because that's when we feel like there's certainty, right? When we're planted into the soil, but we're shifting so rapidly that we're like, oh, today I'm somebody new. Tomorrow I don't like that anymore. And so you're kind of like, ugh, your energy's wobbly, but that's exactly where you're going to develop that resilience and say, it's
Mhm.
not about mastering life, it's about mastering my energy through the chaos.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and there's a type of peace. Um, Never experienced it until recently, you know? Like,
Hmm.
how can I have comfort in the midst of what's happening? Sometimes it's a piece I can explain. Sometimes I don't even know if my brain comprehend it. So,
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. So is there anything else you would like to talk about that I didn't get to ask you questions about?
No, I would say if you're listening to this episode and you absolutely love the conversation that we're having, um, I want to invite you and share a free gift for your audience where you can learn how to awaken the healer with you and start to give yourself natural healing energy so you can create the life that you want and really cut through patterns of past trauma to create more freedom and peace for your life. So I'm actually going to share that with Bernadette, and you can feel free to grab. It's a video guide. It's short, so it's digestible. You can watch it for free and let me know how it served you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think I have two questions. We'll figure it out as we go along. My brain does that. I get brain block. I'm like, let me, it's there, but I'm trying to get it out. My first question is, what is the meaning of life for you?
Mm. The meaning of life is for me is freedom, having the freedom to be able to create my own schedule, having the freedom to be able to breathe fresh air,
Yeah.
feel alive, and feel connected to my spirit, to my soul.
Mm, I love that. Thank you. My last question for you is, where can people connect with you and find you on social media?
So you can come find me, say hello, come say hello over on Instagram at Uncommon Healing. It's one word together. You can also find me on YouTube and you can also find me on Facebook at Uncommon Healing.
That's awesome. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for the beautiful reading you did, for the divine meeting that I believe both of our spiritual team uh put together. And thank you for what you do. Continue to do it. You are a beacon of hope, a beautiful soul. Keep shining. Thank you.
Oh my God, Bernadette, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to be here with you today and your guide and my guides to help inspire this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much.